Hey, welcome back, everyone, to another Agency Connect podcast. I'm Sunir, president of the Cloud Software Association and CEO of AppBind. I'm here today with Arpan Desai from Mobile First. He has really figured out how to provide a software development agency at scale. And I'm glad to have you. So Arpan, thank you. And why don't you introduce yourself?
Yeah. Hey, Sunir, thanks very much for inviting to this podcast. So hello everyone, my name is Arpan and I run a software agency called Mobile First. We started in 2014. Little bit about my background. I'm a software engineer, started working as a app developer back in 2009. And that's how I learned the basics of how to build an app. And then I moved to consulting. I was working at PricewaterhouseCoopers as a technology consultant. And after working there for a couple of years, I started up my own as a boutique consultant. And I started along with a friend, just two of us. And currently we are a team of 70. We started with just building mobile applications for our clients. And currently we are doing kind of a lot of things. We build mobile apps, we build web applications, we do backend, DevOps, and we also do a little bit on blockchain as well. So that's in a nutshell what we do.
That's a lot of things. And as everyone knows, starting an agency is really easy, but then hiring your first employee is terrifying, right? Because you have to make sure you can make payroll over and over again. So at what point did you feel like your agency had found its footing that you can start hiring people?
Yeah, so funny enough, when we started, we did not want to build an agency. When we started, we wanted to build a product development studio where we build our own products. Later, one thing led to another. That business was not bringing enough revenue. So then we transitioned to more of a services business. And we had our first customer, again, a startup based in Baltimore, and they reached out to us and they said, hey, we wanted a small prototype and we never knew what this is for. And it was a video prototype. And then we get to know there's a team called Baltimore Ravens. And at that time, we had no clue what NFL is. And that product got picked up by Baltimore Ravens. And one thing led to another, and Baltimore Ravens was underdog. They won a Super Bowl, and things went crazy for us. So this client of ours got covered in New York Times, Wall Street Journal Sports Edition, and Apple's press release. So that actually gave us a good heads up, because when we started, it was just I and my co-founder were working on a couple of engagements. And then we had some solid demand coming from one customer, and that's how we were able to think about adding our first team member. So yeah.
So you're suggesting that to be successful as an agency, you need to have a client that wins the Super Bowl. Okay, that's easy.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll make that the headline. Advice. This is supposed to make other agencies feel less anxious, but I don't know if that helps.
Yeah.
Oh God. But I think one of the interesting things I was talking to you about in the last time we spoke was that that's great for one client, but you're in 8 years and you found a way to create a sustainable rhythm of finding new clients and keeping employees on staff. And that's the scalability trap, where if you're selling labor, you have payroll to meet the labor, like the revenue. So you have to somehow manage either revenue growth or your payroll. But you have really focused your client acquisition and also focused your staffing. Now, so I want to dive into that. So you're not going so who's your ideal client? Let's go into that. You're not just taking anybody right now anymore.
Yeah. So when we started, so I'll be honest, when we started, our focus was more towards very early stage startup or someone who is an idea stage startup, and we were providing them end-to-end consulting. But we kind of realized that if you want to scale, we need to pick up a customer who has slightly more bandwidth. They should have a long-term vision about the product, and they should have funds to sustain that vision. So back in 2019, we transitioned to a slightly different model. We call it team augmentation or a pod-based offering. So any high growth startups or who are growing really fast and they are not able to keep up with their internal product development requirements with their internal team, they kind of come to us. We deploy a team of 4, 5, at times 10 people who work as an extended team of their company, and we call this model team augmentation. And speaking about our ideal customers, we kind of categorize them in two categories. They need to be high growth startups, so probably Series A or onward startups. Ideally, companies whose product or whose market expansion is very, I'll say very ambitious. They kind of work with us. Second, in terms of industry, we also identified 3 or 4 industries where we are adding better value compared to other industries. So that includes fintech, sports tech, and health and wellness. So these 3 industries also we focus on. And more importantly, and this is something I also talked about, we also figured that the companies who are taking a sales first approach. So they have imagine a company which has a 5 or 6 people dev team or 5 or 6 people product development team, and they have similar or a higher number of salespeople who are actually going out to a customer, selling the product and understanding, and they're just selling the product with a promise that they will add new features. So they are also a right kind of customers to us, because they are not building product in silos. They are building product on an actual product, actual customer needs, and they create a huge backlog for the product team. And when you have a huge product backlog, these companies or this high growth startups come to us and we help them reduce that product backlog. Yeah,
that's interesting. Like first focusing on who you want. Do you turn down clients at this point? Like
we have turned down a couple of clients. So, and most of these clients were either in the industries we do not focus, or either in the size we do not focus. So let's assume someone just want to build or someone just want to extend one feature into the application, then we'll not have a visibility of engaging the entire team. So still it is difficult, Sunil, to turn down a client. You always try to find out, hey, there is a possibility, and that's a trap, that hey, what if they grow big? And we are trying that we stay very focused when we make a decision to adding a client or not. Yeah, and we are getting better at it.
Do you ask them if they're likely to win the Super Bowl? Because I think that should be a first.
Yeah, so that's something I think in every startup journey, they have a Super Bowl moment, and figuring out that what are the likeliness of them having a Super Bowl moment will help us understand that, hey, what kind of long-term engagement we are looking at. Just a side note, this Super Bowl client, when we started, it's been more than 8 years we are working with them. And in that journey, they got acquired, but we are still working on their product. So,
well, actually, that leads me to the next question. Like, what is your, like, how long do you keep your clients? This was 8-year client. Like, what's your
typically average engagement with our client is anywhere between 18 months or more. We have certain clients or good number of clients where we have engagement which is more than 4 years. We have at least 6 or 7 clients, and they also give us that room or a buffer to add more people, or they are like they act as a cushion, because we know they are constantly growing, or they have a standard, they have a in a way you can say there is a definite need, because we understand they have a product backlog and they are sustainable. They are not dependent on VC money. Yeah.
And are these companies have internal product teams as well, or are you the
yes.
product? Yeah.
So in 90% of the cases, they have an internal product team. They will either have a CTO or they will have an engineering head to whom our team works. In some cases, they do not have. There we act as a CTO. We kind of assume a CTO role, but we prefer they either have a virtual CTO or a fractional CTO, just to have that forward-looking approach. Yeah.
So like, I think the question that for me is the greatest fear is, if the client has an internal team, eventually they're going to in-house the work. But when we were talking before, that doesn't happen so much with your company. What do you think what do you think keeps them around with you? What is the thing that you own? I mean, in so much as you own anything in a relationship.
So I think there are 2 or 3 things which we own. So because we are kind of very early on building the product, we have a good understanding of the product and how what are the possible extension of a product. That's number 1. Number 2 is oftentimes as these clients grow, their need also grow. So we are actually not replacing their internal team, but we are augmenting their team. So I'll sum it up with an example. We are working with a large organization which is in logistics space, and they have close to 200 people on their in-house team. But when they had to roll out a new feature or a new product line, their internal team did not have a time, or they did not have enough resources for doing this experiment. So they came to us with just a product manager and engineering manager came to us and said that, hey, you know what, this is something we want to build. We want to do it extremely fast, and we want to iterate the product very fast. And so that kind of worked out pretty well. So now we have a visibility of another probably 10 months of work, because that worked out pretty well for them. And once that product reaches we can say a product market fit or a revenue market fit zone, they will start reducing our dependency. But till that time, they will have us. And by the time they reach that revenue market fit, they are expanding into new market or new product.
Well, the other thing that scares me about the pod model that you guys seem to have under control is when you do lose a client, you have like a team of people who are now benched, right? So how do you manage the efficiency? I don't know what percentage of your staff are benched at any given time, and how do you keep them? Get them back in the game.
Yeah. So on average, we have 7 to 8% of our team members on the bench, and that is by purpose also, because at times we have certain clients, they want to get started immediately. So we kind of figure out in our pricing, we kind of figure that out in our P&L that, hey, we need to have this much number of people on bench just to accommodate another opportunity. At the same time, a lot of our existing relationship may have an additional bandwidth needed. So all the time, that has not been a biggest challenge for us so far. But as we grow further, that may be a challenge with us. And we also have an agreement with a client that they cannot say, hey, let's stop working from tomorrow. That needs to be in a staggered manner. That should be in a planned phase manner. So let's assume if you have a 10 people team working on a product, so in a certain month, they will be able to reduce only 2 people from the team. So in a way, we get that enough chance to place these people in other product, or we may have an opportunity to work with other clients. So that is something we are doing on agreement side as well, that they cannot. Yeah.
Do you find it's advantageous now you've focused your verticals, that your knowledge from one team to another can quickly switch from one client to another, or was that an advantage?
So, at times it is an advantage. But at the same time, what we are doing is we are now dedicating certain team or certain product managers or certain senior developers into in domain specific way. So I'll also add that with an example. So we work in fintech with lot many clients, and Plaid is one of the very instrumental framework, or Plaid, Voila, ACHQ, and other frameworks are very instrumental to most of the products we have built. So we kind of find opportunities, or we kind of create a pipeline with our clients who are in this domain. So that way, the collective knowledge or a collective knowledge can be applied to next client as well. That also help us win new customers, because we now have expertise with certain framework. Last point on the bench, this is something we are also doing differently. We create partnership with other API first or SDK first companies, and when we do a partnership with them, we build a lot of POC or proof of concept on their APIs. So that also instills trust into the companies or the partnership team. And our team also have a first-hand understanding of the product, market, other things. So that's something how we are utilizing our bench team.
Oh, you mean, so these are like software product vendors, and they have API, and then you're just building stuff.
We are just building a prototype stuff. As an example, this is something we picked up from other partnerships. So we have a partnership with a video infrastructure company called Agora, and with Agora, they have a wide area of APIs, and there are a lot of frameworks. So when we had some opportunity, 2 or 3 of our team members were available, we kind of picked up, and we saw video infrastructure and video platforms are becoming more and more common. So there might be more opportunities there. So we invested close to 45 days learning the platform, built a couple of POCs, and that eventually helped us present to a potential customer, and also helped us build a very strong relationship with the platform.
It's genius. It's genius. And I guess the last question I really want to dig into is, you mentioned that you have a P&L model, which I thought we talked about before, which is really key, because a lot of agencies don't actually financially model. So you model like 7 to 8% of your staff are on the bench, and that's part of your margins. I don't know if you're willing to tell us your margins, but how do you control your margins so your agency is sustainable and profitable? I think that's the difference between owning an agency and living in an agency. Like, you're owning a business versus just on the treadmill of hell, right? That a lot of agencies are on. So how do you sustain? You're controlling your margins. I'm curious what you've done to make sure that you're sustainable.
Yeah, so we try to. So there are a couple of ways we try to do. We try to remain sustainable. Number one is we are not overcommitting to customers. That's number one thing. So oftentimes we have an opportunity which we think it can be a great opportunity, but that is out of our reach. Let's say if someone reaches out to us and they say we need 40 people team, but we will not able to fulfill that for now, because ideally we try to limit our team size. Maximum team size should not be more than 12%. So as an example, if we are a team of 60 people, then we'll figure out what's the 12% of that, and that will be the maximum team size. So that's number one.
You're betting that this whole team will be gone, all at once.
Yes.
Right? Yeah, it's dangerous. That's smart.
Yeah. Okay. That's number one. Number two is, all the time, as I said, at the filtration of a client, we kind of understand what are their likeliness of winning that Super Bowl moment. In industry, what are the other competitors or other benchmarks, so which they are trying to mimic. That helps us understand their likeliness of raising a fund, or their likeliness of getting a customer, getting a huge market opportunity. That also help us. We are not 100% sure, otherwise we would be VC, but that also help us predict that what is the pipeline of work with the customer. So that's number two. Then I think number three is reutilizing some of or building internal knowledge base, which can be extremely helpful whenever we are pitching to a new client, is something which helps us make the P&L better. So at a given point of time, whenever we have a more bench strength, which we have not predicted, we internally raise an alarm and then start picking relatively small engagements, or we'll work with other teams. So this is something we also have figured that uh, we are working with a couple of teams in UK and US, and they are also an agency. So, and these agency also have a demand. So instead of having a direct customer, we also work through an agency. So, and that is a last resort. That's a last resort, because ideally we need to have the direct relationship with customer, but just to manage the P&L.
And is your margin scaling with your payroll or revenue? Are your margins actually scaling at all, or do you have a pretty consistent level of profit no matter?
Our margins are relatively, from the moment we started and currently we are at, our margins are lowering down, but our team or our revenues are growing, so that's not a big concern for us, because we are still operating at a decent margins, and I think as an organization, our ambition is to make the pie bigger, then to have a small pie and have a largest piece. So that's the approach we as a founders have.
And what do you think, if you flash forward in 5 years and you've achieved the size that you want to be, are going to be the pillars of you creating the profitability of this business that would make you happy with your effort into the business? Like, what do you
Can you repeat the question, Sunil?
So 5 years from now, you've grown the company as big as you want, right? You own this thing. So at some point you want to make it profitable and feel like you've made a successful company. Right now you're investing. What do you think you need to have it do to the business so that you can grow the slice that you're taking out of it? Because I think every agency owner I've talked to is afraid that they're going to keep this is a scalability trap. They keep building it, right? But because you're selling labor, the more revenue you have, the more payroll, and you just can't find the margins that make it something that you own as a business owner, like something you can take away from it. So what do you think? You've obviously put a lot of thought on your modeling. I'm curious what you might think.
I think that's something we have not thought about it. There are a couple of metrics which we are very proud of. It is number of jobs created, number of impact we are creating to business, and also the kind of revenue we are generating for our organization. Because end of day, like with the current setup, our basic needs, or our basic needs as a human being or a founder are getting satisfied. We rather want to have a slightly better impact on the society or the people around us than just have the highest number of profit on from the agency. So that's a mindset right now, and eventually as we grow, that mindset can also evolve or change. But that's a mindset we are building this agency right now.
That's amazing. Thank you so much, Arpan. How do people find you and your company?
Oh yeah. So our company name is Mobile First Applications. We're very active on LinkedIn. Personally, you can find me on Twitter. I go by the name Arpan D9. You can find me. My full name is Arpan Desai. If you write Arpan Desai Mobile First, probably the SEO will help you read to a right profile.
It's mobilefirst.in, just so anyone wants to know.
Yes, mobilefirst. Yeah.
Okay, amazing. Thank you so much for doing this. I love how much you have thought about modeling your business so it's sustainable, and you've grown it obviously successfully, and that we basically all need a client who's won the Super Bowl. I'm basically taking that away, as you can tell.
I think that's a great deduction of entire conversation, Sunil. And I'm also gonna use that in my further communications as well. All right.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sunil. Pleasant talking to you. Bye. Take care.
For more great insights on partnerships and software, like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video.